Hello, and welcome back to this week's episode of STS. I'm Renee Scavington. This is Tom Coppola. We're here at Origins Parkour facility in Vancouver. We actually were recording already, and our stream dropped. Are we good now, Derek? We seem to be live now? Okay. All right, so we're going to try this again.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to bring up at the start of the show, we already kind of talked about this a bit, but we'll try to do this over. I wanted to bring up Parkour UK again, because Parkour UK is still news, even though there are no updates yet or anything. We touched on this slightly, but I still feel like it's the biggest news this year. At least it happened 2 weeks ago, and we brought it up on the show, but we didn't really talk about it a whole lot.
It's funny to say it's the biggest news of the year because it's only the first month of the year.
But I mean, we're in a culture where there's not a lot of big things. We can talk about new videos, which I think we'll do later in the show today. But as far as news that affects the culture of parkour, this is
absolutely.
This may be at the end of the year. We might be talking about news stories that happened, and this will still be the biggest thing that happened in 2017.
Yeah.
So. After we put out the recording, I got messaged by Daniel Timms. That's a name I hadn't heard before, but I believe he is on the board for Parkour UK, and he was just saying, do you guys have any questions? And the main question was, what do you guys plan to do? That's, what it's.
What are you gonna do now that you're recognized as a sport?
After being recognized, and the simple answer was that they have yet to discover what will happen for being recognized.
Like what kind of resources they have access to, and now being recognized as an official sport organization.
And the thing is, I think a lot of people's reaction to being recognized is they think it's an instant, gateway to things, but the work's not done yet, clearly. And it could be a very positive thing. But we've talked about that there could be certain hurdles that come with being part of a governing body that is also recognized and potentially partially controlled by the government. Would it make it controlled by the government at that point if it's recognized by the government?
Well, it's a national governing body, but I don't like it. I think it acts as its separate organization, and it basically lobbies the government for resources.
So let's talk about things that positives that can come out of having a government recognized body. So one is obviously funding, and then we kind of already talked about this before, but being recognized by programs that could put you into schools and things. And we haven't really had to jump that hurdle so much here in Vancouver, Canada, that I'm aware of. We get called out to schools, but we don't need to say we're part of a Sport BC would be the organization that we need. However, there are funding and grants available if you are registered with Sport BC, British Columbia, in Canada. So it's just one of those things, and I don't know what to say about it again, because we have yet to be put in that position where we create a governing body and then see what other sort of hurdles are to come across. One thing that actually came to mind though is I have to make a connection to another sport that we often make connection to because we're fans of it, which is the sport of MMA. They recently changed their rules, so in terms of the sporting rules, so what's allowed in the sport. And I was watching an interview with John McCarthy, who is, I believe, chair of referees.
Right.
And he was talking about some of the old rules that they had to implement it's been basically 20 years for them to change it.
Okay.
And some of the old rules didn't make sense and actually became harmful to athletes or were just weird things that were forced on the sport because they had people that had to be on the board that didn't know anything about MMA.
Yeah.
So doctors and other government officials that come from other sports and say, well, we do this in this sport, so we have to do it in MMA. And I think that's one of the concerns about parkour and I don't know if things
Oh,
come
yeah.
to mind that like examples come to mind of, I guess, cons to being in that situation.
Yeah, I think there's some potential dangers there because you have a really top-down approach to setting rules and standards, where you're playing with athletes' health, and you're playing with rules of the sport just to like make sure you're doing it under the guise of like good intention, but you just might not be informed enough to really know what the right decision is. You just have concerns about something, and so maybe your rule is there to protect that concern, but it might have unforeseen consequences. So I think like those things should be sort of dictated between organizations rather than like from one governing body that's coming down and implementing those rules. Those are my concerns, because somebody on the board, like as much respect as I have for Sebastian Foucan, some of the Yamakaze, I wouldn't want them making decisions about like how parkour is practiced worldwide, or how it's going to be like the transition towards sport if they start controlling competition in some way, because it has to align with whatever standard they've set. That needs to be dictated by people who are actively involved in those pursuits, not just by these random people who are, well, they're not just random, they're the originators of the sport. But yeah, so that's my concern with it, is that they're going to be affecting parkour in ways where it's their vision to control it, where they want to go, rather than just letting it organically change like the way it has for the last 20 years.
Right. So, and I think that's where we're kind of in a situation where we can't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't any new news yet, and the people that are on the board already,
Mm-hmm.
they're all coming from parkour. So everyone's like, okay, it's good. These are all people that do parkour. Some people think that Sebastian Foucan is really justified for being on that board. I've never met the guy, so I can't really say much contrary. I've seen interviews and things, but yeah, it's this is a tricky thing to talk about, because we're just talking about hypothetical situations. But like we said before, I think it's important for people to be skeptical, because this is something that's out. One thing that was actually said was, board members are voted in.
Yeah.
And again, it's like voted by who? Do they
Yeah.
poll everyone in the parkour community, or is it just
like
whoever's already on the board?
Does every 16-year-old kid who like dabbles in parkour or like get a vote, or is it who exactly, who's voting, who's making those choices? Is it the old traditionalists, that are just hanging around, or is it like the newcomers? Like who's involved in it?
So once again, this is our second. Do you want to add something more there, or
I was gonna say, because we were talking about the organization before. Apparently, we weren't actually streaming, but we were talking about like some of the positive things that it could do.
So that's what I wanted to move on to. We kind of went the other way with it, but our original recording here, we were talking about a lot of the positives that could come out of this organization. One being, if you are in a country where schools are holding back on letting parkour come in because you're not recognized by the government or by the governing sports body, that you would then have access to funding and be able to put into schools. So is there more you wanted to say on that? Because we got cut off before. This is kind of a little bit awkward because we were having this conversation and now we're having this conversation again.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what I'm most excited about with the potential for Parkour UK, is the potential to get into schools and to bring parkour to kids, because, there's a pretty glaring problem that we have with youth development in terms of just health. They're increasingly becoming obese, and in higher numbers than ever before. I think kids are like the first generation that might have shorter lifespan than their parents, like during like this time in history, which is like never happened before. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, like I want parkour and what parkour brings to the table to help affect change in these kids' lives, and anyone that wants to continue pursuing it. But what I was talking about earlier was, parkour is not a complete discipline. It involves all the fundamental locomotor skills like running, jumping, climbing, crawling, swinging, that kind of stuff. But it doesn't have anything to any kind of like coordination that's developed through using an implement like a stick, a bat, or like throwing and catching, kicking a ball. Like those things are really important skills to develop as children, and those are part of fundamental movement skills, not just running, jumping, climbing, crawling. Right? So parkour shouldn't be the only thing that's in schools, but it should be accessible to kids in schools, because I think it's so good at developing those skills. And you were saying before, it's like, well, when we go into schools, we tend to replace gymnastics programs because parkour is the new gymnastics, because kids are excited about it again.
And we use a lot of the same equipment.
Yeah.
Often when we go into schools, we use the mats they have for gymnastics.
Yeah.
We use the balance beams. We use the I guess we call them horses, not vault boxes, but
the vaults, I guess.
yeah. So everything's already in place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we bring in some supplemental equipment, and we can teach kids how to do parkour. Just do the kind of like a lot of the same types of skills, but just in a more enjoyable way. And track and field too. Like you don't really see a whole lot of kids get excited about doing like running or like hurdles or those can be fun activities. I did track and field when I was a kid.
Well, I've actually talked to you about track and field because the bummer for me was always that track and field in my high school was all around distance.
Oh, really?
So it was all around like the distance events of track and field. So there weren't things for like 100-meter or for jumping. The things that would have helped me with, yeah.
You couldn't even like participate in that?
No.
Wow.
It wasn't even talked about. It was, and then the second high school I went to, which was a new high school, I got bumped in like halfway through, didn't even have a track team. It had cross country, right? So,
okay.
But Canada as a whole, they put way more into the distance events than they do the short events, which are the ones I'm more interested in. But and I when I talk to kids now that are in high school, and I tell them to join track, and I tell them to do the short events because you can learn so much more about speed development and jumping development through track and field than we could teach them here.
Yeah.
If I'm being totally totally honest, there are track coaches that are going to be way better at teaching those things as a just basic development of those skills. We're going to teach them how to land correctly on walls and rails and things like that. But as far as just teaching, penultimate step and how to accelerate out of a start better, you're better off learning that from a track coach.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of value to track and field and gymnastics, but I think just parkour just kind of is taking a lot of the same skills and repackaging it in a different way that people are excited about, and bringing it back. That's why I'm so excited. I'm so excited for the potential to get into schools, because a lot of times, because the school system is public, it's controlled by the government, and so so funding will be dictated by what they want to pay. And so if there's a recognized organization, Parkour UK, then they can potentially get into schools a lot more easily. I don't know if there are. They probably are already doing school programs. I know the Jump Westminster documentary that came out back in 2007. That was a really cool documentary where it was bringing like kind of less fortunate kids into the parkour world to give them an outlet.
Yeah, and their certification came out of that. Like the need for a certification for
Right.
the ADAPT certification to come about was in order to start that program.
Mhm.
I've actually, you can kind of segue to this, I've had similar issues teaching in Vancouver through the city. So in 2006, I had this awesome opportunity where the city of West Vancouver, one of the parkour representatives came out to a talk I was able to give and was interested in letting me come in and start basically teaching my first parkour program. And I didn't need to do anything extra for that. I didn't need to get a certification. I said, this is my friend Alex. He trains with me, and we're gonna teach, parkour.
Yeah.
And then, a few months later, this is my friend Boris. He's good. We're gonna teach parkour. Oh, we need a first aid certification. Okay, cool. So we didn't need to make our own certification at that point. So that never came about. However, when the park that we just had built a year ago in Vancouver came out, and I started talking to the park board about doing classes there, I was kind of given these two options. It was work with the city or get a permit from the city. And I chose to get a permit because working with the city meant we had to come up with a certification. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of the people on the park board actually leveled with me. It's basically saying that it was a necessary evil in order to be able to grow. So whether or not we end up trying to come up with an expression right now, but whether or not we end up going down that road at a certain point, has yet to be seen. Mm-hmm. But that's again one of the things that could force the parkour community here to make a governing body come up with a certification. But then a lot of the people that, because I know people that coach at other gyms that aren't Origins, they're coming up with programs that aren't at Origins. Those programs would be effectively shut down if they didn't have that certification. Similar to in the UK, I don't believe you can coach there unless they recognize your insurance or something. I don't think you could start a program. As far as I know, everyone that coaches in the UK has the ADAPT certification. Right. So it's, again, I don't know. It's a different government too. Mm-hmm. It's a different government there than it is here. So
different culture as well.
Mm-hmm. The other thing, and this is, if you're ready to move on here. The other thing is working with the government and trying to get permits and things. Depending on what you're doing is a tricky thing. I was just getting my coffee down at Kafka's, and I have some bad news that I had to break to a fellow business owner there. Is that I just had a sign application denied for the third time. Oh no! So we don't have a sign here at the gym. We have a sandwich board we put outside. We're up on the third floor of a building. And there is signage for the other businesses on the first and the second floor, but we don't have a sign for our business on the third floor. I've dumped thousands of dollars into this already, and we have yet to have a sign put up. And the reasoning given by the government is just, for lack of the only way to describe it is absurd. Basically, they said there's too much signage on the building. This application was just turned down by the city planner. And so anytime I think about working with the government, just as a business owner, this is what my experience has been. It took us a year to open up the gym.
Not because we weren't done.
Not because we weren't done. We opened up in secret like half a year early, but we didn't have a business license at the time because that was pushed back by the city. We have a tricking coach here, Jervin, who's trying to open up his own tricking gym, and they were supposed to be open already, basically January, and they haven't even started building yet because it's pushed back from the city. So, city of Vancouver sucks for starting your own business. It really does.
Well, I mean, it's not just unique to the city of Vancouver. It's all over the world.
So, anyways, interesting comment from Aaron down, the owner of Kafka's Coffee, is he tipped me off that basically many businesses on Main Street do not have sign permits. So, again, are you better off working with the government, or do you just
do it?
Do you just
anyway.
get things done? Because in my experience, oftentimes it's better to get things done.
Well, I mean, and what is putting a sign up on the building gonna do to harm the community?
Well, the other thing too is we had this mural festival last year, or actually just this past summer, and there's this crazy like geisha clown, like 50-foot tall geisha clown mural thing with like these two orbs, and it's like this hovering over Main Street, and then you have some other murals that I really like and taste, but I'm sure other people don't.
Yeah.
And there's these giant murals, and they were given permits probably because it's art.
Yeah.
So art is okay, but Origins Parkour logo, not okay.
A business that's serving the community well.
Yeah.
Downstairs we have bingo, and we've got which is basically
Gambling.
It's gambling, and there's all kinds of people who are just taking their welfare check and spending it on gambling, and it's kind of like a sad sight. But then you come up to the third floor and you're like, oh, wow, this is a cool community. There's kids, adults, everyone in between who are all being fit and enjoying parkour, and you have to walk past 2 floors of smoke-ridden gambling old people.
Yeah.
And they're people too. It's that's fine, but it's they've got this giant sign that's hanging off the building, and they're going to prevent Origins from helping to serve the community even more, because people still are oh, I can't find you, or oh, I didn't even know you guys were up there. It's
Yeah.
Well, we would like you to know that that we're up here, but we can't. I got a sign because the city keeps blocking us. This is the third time.
It's third time, so it's been almost a year since I put in the application. And again, this is just I've given 2. So one is the delay of opening the gym. One is this application. I am not fond of the city of Vancouver as far as working with them and acquiring permits and things like that. So I can only imagine the difficulties we come across starting. And I could be completely changing my tune 5-10 years from now, in terms of making a government recognized organization. But this is currently what I'm accustomed to,
Yeah.
as far as treatment and understanding of.
Well, I mean, there's good and there's bad people in the city of Vancouver, because I mean we were able to get the parkour park done,
Which has a really popular design too, right?
It's okay. So,
dude, did you never read that? There was a guy that came
The
from
New Zealand guy.
from New
Yeah.
Zealand and just absolutely ripped on the park in Vancouver. Just absolutely it was funny because he never came to the gym. He talked a little bit about, okay, this is Vancouver's actually a really good city for parkour, blah blah blah, and then he went to the parkour park and said, who designed this thing? It sucks. And my defense of the park has always been, hey, if you stumbled upon it as a spot,
yeah,
just
if it was just a
as
spot,
just
there,
an
yeah.
art installation or a park, you would be like, oh, in a place that you couldn't get kicked out of.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh wow, cool, this this spot. But because it was supposed to be designed as a parkour park,
People are like, oh, but where's the Kong?
yeah, where is my lache station? Where are my sloped walls? Where is my Kong?
Yeah.
Where are the progressive precision jumps? This is just a weird jungle gym thing. And I don't train on it a whole lot. We do some classes out there, and it's a neat thing. I think bringing people there that normally train at the gym, it's an interesting progression to training outside, because it's all of a sudden this area where there's no mats, the floor is concrete, and there's a bunch of weird structures that you haven't worked with before.
Yeah.
So now you're gonna have to, all those moves, all those basic, fundamental moves that you learned at the gym are gonna be useless now. We're just gonna learn how to move in this space.
Yeah.
So I still think I'm still grateful that we have it.
Oh yeah.
Could
yeah,
it be
yeah.
better? Absolutely.
Yeah, it can definitely be better. I mean, it's kind of hard to get to as well. It's not like
Well, it's accessible by public transit, by bus.
Yeah.
Although most people take SkyTrain in
Right.
Vancouver.
yeah.
So
I mean, it's not. I guess it's not too bad, but yeah. I mean, it's nice that it's great that we have it, and I think because we set that standard. Because Vancouver set that standard, it opened up the opportunity for Surrey to open that other park, and which is always ridden by kids, but
yeah,
and it's, I would argue, better than the
it's
Vancouver
a
one.
much better designed park, but it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
I think Derek's trying to pull up a photo for us here of Hastings Park. I don't know. Derek, let me know if you get that one. Looks good. Is that up? Can people see that? Okay. Yeah. So that's Hastings Parkour Park. It's pretty small. Those are ping pong tables that we also use to teach and play on, because not many people play ping pong.
Well, I mean, and to be honest, the cool thing about Hastings Park is it's also it's a greater park.
That's the worst side flip tech ever.
It's a bigger park that doesn't just have that small parkour area. There's other things you can do parkour on in the park if you just walk around a little bit, right? There's railings, there's walls, there's a playground that's not too far away from it. There's all these things that you can do, and then it's near another spot which you can walk to. So like you could spend a day out in training out in that area, not necessarily just at the parkour designated area, but other places in the park. So it opens up a lot more opportunity to train in another location.
Yeah,
So,
because like you were saying that it's kind of hard to get to. That's just because a lot of people don't take. You for example don't take the bus very often. You live pretty central downtown. Most of the time we drive there. But just geographically speaking, it isn't really that far off the path. It's near the PNE, which is a fair.
Yeah, no, it's the PNE is a destination location, so it's it's definitely it's in that neighborhood. I guess, right? So so it's accessible to people in that neighborhood, right? But I just think it's sometimes it's a little bit hard to get to, but from other areas. But
yeah, and the thing for me too was when the city approached me about putting a park there, I wasn't gonna say no. I don't want to park
not
there.
At Hastings Park.
Let's make it somewhere else.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
yes, please. Can we have a parkour spot there?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at least at least we were you were able to facilitate that that happening at Hastings Park, and working with the government to do that.
And it's a first step. And there's I've since had meetings for the development of other parks, and there's nothing I can say yet as far as this is going to happen, because it takes years.
Yeah.
There's certain parks that may come to be. Oh, we got a little video here. We got certain parks that may come to be when I'm 40 years old and only doing very minimal parkour. So I may never get to enjoy some of the parks that come to be to the extent that I would like to. But, yeah. So this is a video of what was actually pretty much the grand opening of the park. And so we had a little jam out there, and yeah, you can do stuff. You can do.
Oh, there's the Kong.
There's your Kong. Plenty of dive rolls and underbars.
Oh yeah.
There's guys that we can bring to this park. There's guys like Jesse Danger, Max Henry, that would find really cool challenges to do.
Well,
it's just your average parkour person will have to have an open mind if they're going to go to that spot and try
Not
to
if,
do
but
stuff.
see, not if they're doing these kinds of things.
Not if they're
It's,
doing
it's
tricks,
literally
yeah.
it's built right next to some like super soft sand that's doubles as a volleyball court. So it really provides opportunities for people who like practicing flips, and there's different levels that you can practice flips from. So it's a great park for that. On the other side of it, you know, there's some really cool challenges that you can do. Once you get past the idea that it's built as a parkour park, and you just think of it as just a spot and see what you can do at the spot, then you're in a much better place mentally.
Then you're also actually doing parkour.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. I want to move on.
Okay.
So I guess the only thing, and this is kind of the funny thing about trying to keep this show going, is there's not always big news, you know, to talk about.
Yeah.
There's not always big news to talk about. So you want to chat about videos a little bit?
Yeah. I want to talk about GTA.
Okay. You want to talk about the GTA video?
Yeah.
Okay. What about it? It was awesome?
I thought it was awesome, like really well done. And it just solidifies Storror as like the content producers.
All right.
I'm just, hey, that's,
I think.
I mean, it wasn't, it was like last week they put up the
knife man
wielding
POV,
guy,
yeah.
and then like, yeah, there, and that went viral on like Unilad and a couple other ones. GTA Parkour was also shared on Unilad and had, you know, how many thousands of views. And I just thought it was so well done. It's cool. It's a great use of technology in the sport. The whole idea of a drone following overhead. I don't know how they did it so well, because it must be like 4K, and they're just kind of like editing it to follow specifically.
No, I think the drone actually has like a follow function.
I mean I agree. I agree, but it seems a little bit too perfect. I don't know.
They zoom in and out, yeah.
Yeah, so I think because the drone also like is not going to be able to like track like precise movements like that. So
yeah, I don't want to make myself sound like an idiot trying to talk about how they did it.
Yeah,
but.
totally. But yeah, it's so cool. I mean, I also played GTA 2, which I don't know if you ever played GTA 2.
Like once or twice.
Okay.
I'm not a very big
that
video
was
game guy.
that was actually my favorite GTA. Like I've played like the newer ones, and they're fun because, you know, they're super realistic and stuff. But the GTA 2 was just overhead, and it was just the one that I played the most, and it was just really entertaining. This is my favorite shot here.
Yeah.
When he gets out of the car, runs across the street, and does that giant front, and then he steals the bike coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was probably the shot.
I'm actually trying to figure out who that is.
That's Drew.
It is Drew? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
How
can you tell? You see the top of his head?
Yeah, he's got longer hair, and he also posted it. He posted these
but
clips.
I was saying like Max did he posted like the individual ones. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was saying like a couple of them had done that front flip gap, so it was kind of.
No, but you could tell it
I
by
want
the
them
long
to,
hair and the blonde.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they have some sort of like behind the scenes footage of that shot, because that just seemed really cool to me. It's basically like ditch the car, go for a line, and then they would have had to have cued whoever was on the bike. So I don't know if they have it, but I would be like, it would be really cool to see the behind the scenes for that, because I'm sure there was quite a bit of planning involved for that one.
Yeah, and then Busted. Yeah, it's such a cool concept. I just really liked it, and I think it's probably the best video game parkour video.
Well, because the other ones aren't really like video games. It's just like dress up as the video game character and do parkour and get it filmed by Devin Supertramp, who just does glide cam shots, and then it goes viral because people who like the video game like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my hate for today. Okay.
Jeez.
Anyways, any other videos we want to talk about?
I don't know. Do you have anything?
I don't know. I watch videos. I like what I wanted. We talked about, you know, Storror being the content creator, and I do really appreciate what Storm's doing right now, just as like a parkour team and putting stuff out there, because before that, I think what we would get most of was, I guess, like mostly free running content. You know, like Jason Paul was doing, he did his 100 blogs, which I think he did in like 1 year's time. So that was like two vlogs a week. So that's kind of what we're accustomed to seeing for regular content, is more coming from the free running or freestyle orientated crews. And Storm, at least the core team of Storm now, have more of like a parkour focus. So it's cool to see regular content from them.
Although Kai's like recent like raw video, he was doing a lot of flips that he doesn't normally do.
A couple flips.
I mean, like, he was doing like castaways. He did like round off double back and into like a.
It's still mostly jumps though.
Well, yeah. If we're being real, it's lashes and jumps.
Yeah. He's just gotta.
He's diversifying.
He's just gotta add that something on the end, you know. So, yeah, it's.
Oh, there's a behind the scenes coming out on Friday apparently.
Okay.
For the GTA video.
Sweet.
That sounds cool.
So we'll talk about that next week.
I'll watch it.
All right.
I like behind the scenes videos. That's the coolest. Those are the coolest parkour videos to me. Is the behind the scenes videos.
Well, you were talking about that, and this isn't really parkour, so I don't want to talk about it too much. But that wall ride, that BMX wall ride.
Oh yeah.
And I haven't watched it yet, but you were talking to me about the documentary about that yesterday. And the main part I'm interested in seeing is like the behind the scenes interaction of how they essentially guerrilla style set that shot up.
Yeah.
It's like a 30-minute documentary.
30-minute documentary, and it's not just that one jump. He does like a number of them. It's the second one he does in the film, but yeah, like then he kind of goes and he does more shots and more clips. But yeah, it's filmed over a 2-year process to make one video. I didn't even watch the action edit. I just was like enthralled by the whole behind the scenes thing. I thought that was really cool. What was his name?
Derek just pulled it up. We're gonna wait for this ad.
Yeah, Sebastian Keep is his name. I think he goes by Bas.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's.
Anyways, there's a lot more money in BMX obviously than there is in parkour.
Yeah.
So this type of stuff can get done. If you're a world-class athlete, it is not as hard to get. I'm gonna say not hard. It's still probably very hard, but not as hard to get a film crew to want to follow you around doing like your amazing feat that's never been done before.
Yeah, I mean, and it must have taken a crew of like 10 plus people. Because like there's people filming, there's people helping to build the ramps. There's 2 ramps. Jeez, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
He never actually rode away from that one.
Rode away from what?
Rode away from it. Like he bailed on his attempts doing it.
Oh.
But
you don't see the bail here.
You don't. I'm not sure if they'll show it here. He kind of He
falls. He skids out.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh
yeah.
man.
But that's pretty gnarly. Like that's like one of the. Like, I mean, it's revolutionary in their sport. Like nobody's done this type of thing in BMX, in like at least in a street setting like that. And I don't even think there's like there's no like setups like that in like parks or anything like that, because it's literally 2 levels that you're dropping down.
So like this is what I'm hoping the new Roof Culture Asia is going to be like.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping Roof Culture Asia is going to be like. There's a couple other longer videos like Helm's Deeper Tour that we may never see that I'm hoping has, you know, a little bit of insight into behind the jump sort of thing, you know. But
so speaking of which, you were talking about, I know you don't watch Instagram stories.
Nope. Waste time.
But it's not a waste of time because I was watching Giles' story, and he put up some clips that had never been seen before from like Storm people, and I was like on the story. Right? So I was like, what is that from? Like, apparently they're like old, but like they were filmed really nicely, and there was some cool stuff, and I really wanted to see more. But he's like, yeah, this never saw the light of day, is what the story said. So
yeah, I'm still
that's
not gonna.
why you
I'm still not gonna watch people's stories. No,
don't watch.
No. Giles compiles episode 3.
Rawr.
Why are we bringing this up?
I don't know.
Derek's just trying to find photos of Giles. Okay, we need to kind of wrap up this show. Can we go to like comments real quick? There's like actually people using the thread, which is cool. Versus Kai. Helmslieber is never coming out. No, it's true. It's not.
Yeah, I don't foresee it coming out anytime soon.
Oh, you just got Giles in trouble.
Oops. It was just a teaser, Kai. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Did we actually get any questions or anything?
We got some corrections from Kai.
Okay. What did he correct us on? For the record.
Well, not necessarily corrections, but he was just kind of explaining. He was mansplaining the adapt. Okay, here we go. If it's useful. Okay, so Parkour UK set up specific requirements for a coaching qualification based on requirements across all sports in the UK, how to handle children, etc. Adapt uses those requirements and adds more things on top of it. So it's actually open for more qualifications to exist as long as they follow the same parameters that are set by Parkour UK.
So now what I want to know is if there are requirements for, so they say handling children in other sports that don't make sense for parkour.
Yeah.
Such as keeping children away from height, or you know what I mean? Like I'm sure there's, which maybe you don't want in your program to begin with, but the tricky thing for parkour coaching, I think, is keeping people in classes. This again, it's not necessarily I'm saying it's tricky for us. I'm saying it's what I hear about from every other community that owns a gym or teaches classes, is keeping your advanced students in the program or whatever, because oftentimes they just want to. They've learned whatever the basics of your program is, and then they want to move on, right? So
and they want to pursue whatever they're interested in.
Yeah, so I can see potentially safety regulations getting
in the way of advanced kids continuing to stay in the program,
of what essentially needs to be done with advanced parkour athletes. But that's open for debate too. So I'm not trying to.
So we won't have to cat crawl or run 5K to get qualifications potentially. But see, that's all. I assume that's only if there is another certification that's in the development, in its development, or even exists. But yeah, I think running 5K is totally useless for parkour if you're gonna teach it. It's like,
I'm not arguing with you. Have you guys done PK programs in middle school or high school? If so, in what capacity?
We don't have middle school here.
We don't have middle school. So we have elementary school and we have high school.
Yeah.
We've had tons of high schools come to us.
Yeah. I went into the West Point Gray Academy High School.
Right.
And that was but that was only 2 days. So it was a Wednesday in November and then one in December as well.
Yeah, so as far as our longer programs, we've only done them in elementary schools.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's more on our end, if anything.
Yeah.
It's more on our end on contacting the schools and
But
trying to get on the programs.
So in the capacity that we did it, so it was basically, West Point Gray Academy is actually a private school. But we went into and we basically took over the PE program for just one day. So like, it wasn't every kid in school, but it was like it was certain, because there's different PE coaches, like it was certain coach classes that we just kind of took over, and it was just a parkour program for that day, and then it was a different set of classes for the next time we did it.
It's another question here. How important do you think it is to be skinny for PK? And this is, I'm assuming that they're talking about being, it says top tier, right? So I'm assuming they're talking about being top tier. Very important. You
Yes.
cannot be very big and be the best at parkour. If we're talking about it under that context, you need to be very light.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about,
Sorry. I'm just reading comments now.
Misha's fat. No, he's not. Misha's not fat. Misha's actually super lean. For his size, he's actually pretty light. But it's, Kai is actually one to call Mish fat because he eats donuts all the time.
Okay, we're gonna let's. This show's gone on long enough. Let's do one more question. We got one more here. Actual question. All right. Why not just pay to get a sign put up and deal with the repercussions? So you're talking about for putting a sign on Origins. Why not put a sign up? Well, apparently that's what a lot of other businesses on this strip that we're on have done. Is they've just paid to get a sign up and bypass the government. So we'll see. I just received some new information about that. So, and I've already given a lot of money to the sign company. So first of all, I'm going to find out if I can get that money back, and then we'll see. But hopefully this year, when everyone comes out for NAPC, we'll actually have a sign on the building. That was the plan for last year.
Oh, yeah.
We got a new elevator, so that was cool.
Yeah, that is nice. It doesn't stink like farts.
Yeah. Okay, cool. As always, guys, thanks for tuning in. If you watched this live, awesome. If you didn't get a chance to check it out live, it will be up on SoundCloud as well as YouTube. We'll be back again next Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's it for today. Derek, please cue outro. I have no more coffee left.
Neither do I.
But cheers anyways, and we'll see you guys next week.